Happy Saturday to you. It is a gorgeous day outside. Hopefully you get to get outside a little bit. Head to the home show at the Garcelon Civic Center. That is a real showcase of, as I was saying to my kids last night, because I was there with the Rotary Club, we're selling tickets to e-bikes and all the proceeds go to the trail lights. I can give that plug, right, as a Rotarian. I said to my kids, it was a real who's who, like all the faces and personalities that you know in the municipal district of St. Stephen were there for the most part. And that's what makes it one of those really exciting community events. Today, on our third last video, we are moving through the last 3 of 15 important priorities that I see that your next council needs to get right. And one of the big problems, I'd say the biggest issue, that actually spurred me to run months ago. So I've been going to council meetings for 2 years. I'll talk more about my qualifications in the next coming days, the reasons that I feel like I'm actually a worthy candidate, which is very important to be your mayor. But I have been going to council meetings for 2 years. As a resident, I did experience moments of frustration with this council. Not just, I wouldn't say it wasn't about disagreeing with decisions they made, because we are going to disagree, even if I'm your mayor and your leading your council, serving on your council. You may disagree with me. I may disagree with council. Council may disagree with me. We may make decisions that you don't agree with, etc. But the art of living in community, right, is disagreeing without being disagreeable. And it's a very important step. But the source of friction for me as a resident came when I did not understand what was going on with any given issue or project. I would see something in the agenda, council would vote a certain way. I didn't understand it at all. And there was a sense that I didn't know what was going on or how decisions were being made. Again, there's disagreeing, but then there's being in the dark. And disagreeing will always be a part of democracy and planning and living together. Disagreeing well is important. But if you don't know what's going on, or you don't know how decisions are being made or why, and then they're not explained properly, that is where frustration builds. And that is what I have been seeing building and building like a pressure cooker. We want to be building up St. Stephen, but not, we don't want pressure building up, okay? That is the one way, that's the one thing we're not building here in St. Stephen. So this is one thing that has really spurred me to run, because I know I am a person of planning and clarity and communication, etc. But I'm starting to too much veer into another video that I want to make over the next couple of days. What I want to address is that big issue, the biggest problem. So, in terms of issues, I want to reiterate, housing is the project we need to work on. But the kind of crisis, aside from homelessness, the homeless issue in our community, the largest crisis when it comes to residents and governance is a lack of trust, a total lack of trust in what the council is doing. Now, some people trust a lot in the sense that they're completely disinterested. They're not even going to vote. They couldn't care less what's going on in the municipal government. I don't know if that's just trust or apathy. What I would love to see is people engaging when they want to, getting information that's easily accessible when they want to find it, being able to reach out and get clear explanations and know what this council is working on, in the sense of what are we building up right now? What are the things on the front burner? And when you look at municipalities that are most transparent, and yes, there are even awards for communication, websites, transparency, that kind of thing. If you get deep into the municipal geekery world, there are literally awards for that. What you see is kind of website trackers. In fact, this provincial government attempts to do that with their website. Here are some of the front burner projects. Here's where we are in that. That's not just unique to our provincial government now. They're using that as a model, which is being set by really good government across the board. So I want to tackle restoring trust as a council and as your mayor in 3 primary ways. Now, before I get into the 3, I don't want you to hear this as like, when we do these 3 things, trust will be restored, and then it's trust me, bro. Or as we work on these things, it's like that whole trust me, bro, wink, wink, don't ask any questions, just trust me, man, we got this. That is not okay. I want to say this, and as someone who hopes to be elected to local government, don't trust your local government. That is the paradox here. What I mean by that is don't take government just at its word. The maxim that we always need to keep in our mind when it comes to governance and government is verify, then trust. And so the way to regain trust as a new government is to be transparent, to be working on projects, to be honest with you about what we're accomplishing and what we're not accomplishing, so that when you verify, when you ask questions, when the press, that fourth estate that is crucial to democracy, when the press asks questions of government and makes us give hard answers, when you verify, you discover that that is true, right? Yes, this happened, this project fell through, this pot of money was spent over here instead of over there. Verify, then trust. So that is the overarching policy that you as a resident, me as a taxpayer, as citizens, all that stuff, that needs to be at the fore. That's the lens through which we look at this. But 3 ways that I want to restore the trustworthiness of your council is, first, I want to be a mayor that is actually fulfilling the job description of mayor. And the Local Governance Act, I haven't mentioned that in a while, although, over 97 videos, you should know by now, the Local Governance Act regulates everything, just about everything, in how the local government works, including the job description of mayor, council, needing a procedural bylaw, needing code of conduct, all that good stuff. There's a Local Governance Commission that enforces the Local Governance Act. And hopefully that's become clear if you've been following in the 97 days. It sure has for me. That's the thing. So that's been an important part of this process. But there's 5 job descriptions of the mayor. And when I was at the youth center, I said, what do you think the 5 job descriptions are, mayor? The mayor has to what? And one of the youth there said, do nothing. And I said, well, that's not in the job description. Perhaps there have been mayors that do nothing. That is definitely not going to be my approach. The job description of mayor is to lead the council meetings, sit as the chair of those meetings, and run them really well and have an understanding of who speaks when and all that, make sure everybody's speaking equally. I am really looking forward to running really good meetings. The second thing is to bring leadership to council. And again, to me, the word lead means serve. Whoever's leading is just the biggest servant. One of the first things I will do as mayor is to contact each councillor and ask them why they came to the table. Now that they're at the table, what do they want to see in their riding? What's a priority? What are the bylaws we need to tackle? And start to triage, start to harmonize, make a priority list of what those councillors brought to the table, because they are ultimately your voice. So that's how a mayor will bring leadership to the council right off the bat and then throughout their entire tenure. The second thing is heavy on communication. So I want to communicate. The Local Government Act is clear. The Local Governance Act, you will communicate as mayor to the council. Things you're hearing as part of your meetings as mayor, you'll communicate those to council in a timely fashion. The council should not know anything the mayor doesn't know, and vice versa. So that's really important. Those channels need to be open. Mutual communication. The mayor serves as a member of council, and that's why communication is open. But then coming out of decisions, the mayor needs to communicate to the residents what council has been doing and why they made decisions and what the priorities are, everything I just described, and hopefully everything I've been modeling before and after council meetings. Again, as an outsider who reads the agenda, wants you to have access to those documents, I haven't been able to tell you why council decided what they're deciding or why things are on the agenda and others aren't, but that is something I would bring as mayor. And then the 5th thing, of course, is kind of a more boring job description of other things that this act requires, like signing things and stamping things and showing up at things. And so it's kind of vague, number 5. It's kind of like when you get a job, it says other duties as required, right? That's okay, great. So that's the first thing. Restoring trust, the trustworthiness of your council as a mayor that actually fulfills the job description of mayor, working in tandem with council and checking off all the boxes of the Local Governance Act job description. The second thing is I want to have a governance model. This is something that when I was doing my research about being mayors, reading George Cuff's book and things like that, he's the local governance guru of Canada. it is very important to have a kind of lens, a model for how you will govern, how you'll make decisions. Council always need to be talking about that. It's not just we make decisions, it's how are we making them? What's the mechanism by which that happens? And then how does the mayor communicate that as they fulfill their role? And when I went away in January and kind of did a little personal retreat, thought about it all day, took some notes, I realized that as a resident, when I felt shut out and I couldn't understand, I would like to see a governance model that's more transparent. But then, of course, how do we make decisions? How does government make decisions? As I've observed council and run my own small business, how do I make decisions? That's where the 5-point rubric comes in, my action plan. It's been on my website. It's on the cards I distribute at the doors and the houses. First, we understand something. So I need to use an example, like for whether it's the skate park or homelessness issue, the plan. So first we understand the problem, right? For the skate park, we had to remove the skate park paraphernalia from the border arena, and then we want to put it somewhere else. So we understand what needs to be done. For homelessness, the shelter has too much pressure. It's not working. It's an emergency solution. We need to understand the problem. And then the second piece is we need to make a plan. Now, making a plan is probably the heaviest part of the process. We need to bring all the players to the table. So for the skate park, of course, that would be corporate services, that would be parks and culture, that department with the CAO, the funding of the equipment, the is there warranty on the equipment, who's going to install it, where does it go? So that's the plan piece. For homelessness, how do we move out of that into a bridge housing model? We talked to the ministers, who's going to fund it? I talked about all this yesterday, where we find a location, we find an operator, we find the funding, and then we build it. So that's kind of the planning phase. Now, you know, that old adage, plans rarely survive contact with the enemy or the opposition or when you start to do it. So then we deliberate the plan. And as a plan comes forward, we say, here's the plan. We start to deliberate it. That's with residents, that's with council. And again, that debate, sometimes it gets to that point. We need to agree on how to implement the plan. But then, of course, it's time to, after we refine that, we adapt and then we adopt the plan. And that's 3 readings if it's a bylaw, it's a resolution if it's not a bylaw. That's how council moves forward. Then your municipal staff gets the job and they start to build it. And this is where we have seen projects fall. We think we have adapted and adopted, but then in the build phase, new planning, new issues come up, and then quite honestly, it pushes us back. So that's how I would see it. I would see any project or decision moving through the 5 phases: understand, plan, deliberate, adapt and adopt, and build. But again, sometimes a plan will have to be pushed back to re-deliberate, but at least we can talk about how we're doing something and whether or not it's moving. So that is kind of the governance model and communication model that I will use as your mayor. And then finally, that third way that I want to rebuild trust is understanding how local governance works. That is something that I don't think has been communicated well or even functioning well. The local government, your local government, decides the what based on resident feedback. What do we need to do? What decisions need to be made? And what needs to be adapted and adopted and built? And that is an important piece, because the what is why the council exists: to discuss, to deliberate, to plan, and to approve. And then the how is your municipal government. So we have a CAO, I've said this before, the only employee of council, the adage goes, is the CAO, because the CAO reports to the council and the CAO oversees all the staff. So whenever you see any truck, anybody at the Garcelon Civic Center, any of your municipal staff out and about at work, their direct report is often a department head, but then all those department heads report to our CAO, and our CAO needs to be properly evaluated every year at least, maybe even more frequently than that. Your CAO needs to be held accountable for mistakes, things that are not going well with their department heads, or snafus that happen. Things inevitably happen, but because if staff drops a ball or is not getting a job done that you as residents want to see done, and you have told your council to approve a bylaw or a resolution or a project, and then the staff needs to execute on that, well, if something's just not getting done or not done well, then there needs to be accountability. That is another way that I restore trust with your council, with you, to get local government back to a place where you feel like, again, you're not trusting blindly. You can verify and trust because we are verifying and trusting our staff. But you don't want to see that blending. Council does not get in there and start figuring out the administrivia, as sometimes it's heard coined in this world. That is the staff to do all of the details. That's up to the CAO. That's not up to the council. And likewise, the administration of the CAO does not get into the decision-making piece. They are in charge of administrating and executing on the how. So again, those are the three ways that I see really important change in the next 4 years. Trust in all levels of government is at an all-time low. I understand when someone's upset or complains, they get on Facebook, they get a huge following of other people who are upset and complaining. That's never going to go away. It's like any pain. I've learned this, whether it's emotional or physical, right? I've taught my kids this. When you feel a pain, it just shows something's not right. You need to pay attention to pain points, and then you can address it. So when residents are upset, there is a pain point there. Your council needs to figure out how to fix it, and that's an important piece for getting us back to where we are. Verify, then trust. That's the plan for the next 4 years. That will solve this huge issue of eroding trust in your local government so we can get back to building up St. Stephen, not just our infrastructure and our roads and playgrounds and recreational stuff, but also that emotional piece as we build up each other. Couple more videos about that over the next couple of days, but I wanted to be clear on how to restore your trust, verify and trust, make your council trustworthy. Build up ststephen.ca. That's where you can get into more specifics. Again, take care of yourself today. It's a beautiful day out there. See you at the home show if you're heading out there. Take care of your neighbor, and let's continue to build up St. Stephen together. I'll talk to you tomorrow.